So we started last week with this idea of exploring how yoga supports the health of the body systems. And this week we're going to look at bones and the skeleton. And yoga is a holistic practice because it works on everything. So holistic as in the whole body and the whole person. And so there's the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, the lymph system, all the different systems of the body, and the skeletal system is one of them. And there's a social prescribing doctor called Dr. Zoe Williams, who's now made a bit of a name for herself on, trust me, I'm a doctor, became a bit of a celebrity doctor. And I listened to a talk she gave about social prescribing, which some of you know I'm involved in. And she basically said exercise is the glue that sticks everything together. So it's really difficult to be healthy and not do exercise. So, you know, I'm biased. I would say yoga is a highly systematic, well thought out, holistic way of exercising the body and the mind. And it covers just about everything apart from raising the heart rate. So you always need to combine it with something like running if you're crazy, or swimming if you're more sensible, or any other number of sports and things. So whatever you're doing, yoga will bring everything back to balance. It'll take all the joints through their full range of movement. So in terms of the skeleton, we're talking about the bones and the joints, and it's the hardness in the body. So the body is this combination of hard and soft. So your organs are very soft. If you've ever seen a liver, bought a liver from the butchers, you'll know just how squishy and soft that is. And then there's a big range in between until we get to the bones and things like the teeth, which are very hard. But one of the misconceptions about the bones and the body and the skeletal system is that somehow, because of that hardness and that kind of structure and the way it provides the levers for all our movement, that somehow it's less alive. So just to disabuse you of any of those notions, your bones they're just riddled with blood vessels, they're riddled with nerves, they're an incredible dynamic system, to the extent that if you haven't been for a run for a while, then some of the bone density will be lost from, say, the legs and the hips. And then you start running again and your body goes, oh, we're starting to run again. And it'll stimulate the bone cells in the body just to lay down a bit more density to absorb those stronger forces. We reach our peak bone density in our mid-30s. So that sounds a bit depressing when you're nearly 60 like me. But actually the decline is very slow until you hit late 60s, 70s, 80s, and then it can go into rapid decline, and that is osteoporosis. So one of the purposes of a yoga practice is to take all the bones and joints through a sensible range of bone loading as well as movement to maintain skeletal health. So that's all I want to say. It's all about our structure as well. And I suppose the other thing I should say is, you know, gravity is our biggest force on our bodies, and it's your skeletal system that is really the strong, firm point that is resisting gravity. And if you don't maintain the health of the skeletal system, then you will end up probably this spinal shape and this head shape, and we see it a lot just by doing people watching. So we want to keep everything on the midline of the spine, everything stacked. And you know, I met a yoga teacher from Australia called Sophia Branges. She can't be alive because she was in her 70s when I met her in the mid 90s, but unless she's extraordinarily old. But she told a story on the first day of a sort of few day workshop that I did with her. because she had this lithe body of, even though she was in her 70s, this lithe body and this long blonde hair. So she'd just been, that day she'd been wolf whistled, which is deeply frowned upon these days. She walked past the building site, was wolf whistled, and then she turned round and then they saw the face of a much older woman than the one they'd been expecting. So she had a saying, and Van der Scaravelli, another famous yoga teacher, had a saying that you are as young as your spine. So if we keep the spine mobile, supple, fluid, if we pay attention to our posture through our yoga practice, we can maintain that for decades into the future and constantly mitigate the detrimental effects of gravity. Okay, we're going to start with a little bit of breathing practice, and then we're going to do some mobilization with the belt, and that links to the theme of working with the bones tonight and the joints. So just be in a comfortable position on your chair or on the mat, feet nice and connected to the earth, so feet flat on the floor. Place a yoga block under the feet if you need it. If you're happy to close the eyes, let the eyes softly close, or take a soft forward downcast gaze. And take a moment to tune into your body, noticing exactly how you feel right now. And in particular, just bring your attention to our bones, to our skeletal system. And you may know if you have, a problem in a knee, a shoulder, maybe you get a little bit of lower back pain, maybe you're feeling that your spine isn't as supple as it was before. So we're just bringing all of that into our awareness so that we can work mindfully. We're always trying to start from exactly where we are and then just move ourselves in the direction of encouraging more softness, flexibility, pain-free range of motion. And then just check in with your posture. Let the shoulders draw back and down. Tuck the chin in slightly and bring the crown of the head right over the center of the body until the head feels weightless. It's really a really heavy object to carry at the top of a very delicate part of the spine. But when the weight of the head is sitting there, equally balanced from front to back and side to side, then it takes on this ease and this weightless quality. That's what we want. As soon as we let the head go forward, let the spine curve, everything begins to become tense in the neck and the shoulders to hold up this heavy weight of the head, when all we need to do is reset the balance point. And every time you feel yourself getting neck and shoulder tension, just drawing the back of the neck long, drawing the chin in, lifting the crown of the head at any time of the day will usually make a noticeable instant difference. And then keeping your awareness of the body, bring your focus to your breath. Breathing in and out through the nose unless the nose is blocked. And allow yourself to establish a really easy, soft rhythm. You may have that already. But what we're going to do tonight in some of the practices, so we'll practice it now, is just slightly elongate, slightly exaggerate the length of the exhale. Just a normal, easy inhale to a feeling of completeness, but not a great big breath. And then allowing a slightly longer exhale, so the breath remains subtle. It remains soft. It remains easy. as we work with the hardness of the skeleton, we'll balance that with the softness of the breath and a softening of the muscles and tissues around our bones and our joints. And then on the next inhale, if you've been working with the eyes closed, open the eyes, grab hold of your belt if you have one, or use anything else, a bathrobe tie, a actual tie. And we're just going to hold a good length of belt so the hands are wider than the shoulders. And we're going to breathe in, and we're going to put just a little bit of tension into the belt, and then breathing it out, just soften that tension a little bit. And we'll do this a couple of times so we can really feel where we are contracting. So as you draw and stretch the belt, you'll feel the muscles at the top of the back, the outside of the shoulder engaging. So if the belt wasn't there, our arms would want to go out and back. The belt provides resistance, and it's one of the ways that we can keep the skeleton strong. So we can walk, we can go on all fours, we can put weight through the bones, but we can also impose a force on the bones by engaging our muscles. And it's difficult to sort of feel it as you're doing it because you're holding a belt, but as you stretch that belt on the inhale, you'll feel that quite a lot of your core abdominal muscles are engaging. And these are really important to counteract gravity. So when we're slumped, in fact, if you just try to slump a little bit and then pull on the belt, it just doesn't feel right. You just want to sit nice and tall. So if you can keep the shoulders down and it's not too strong for you, then just maintain the tension in the belt for a couple of breaths. So not super strong, shouldn't be sweating or shaking, shouldn't be feeling like the belt's under a whole lot of tension. And then release, relax the belt down and lift and roll the shoulders. So as we do these stretching and engage the muscles around the shoulders, they generate a lot of heat. That's what muscles do when they contract. And that heat really helps to soften and release them. So our shoulder shrugs now will maybe feel just a little bit more effective because of that work that we just did. And then go a little bit wider with the hands. So this is one we do regularly. We're going to breathe in and take the arms up into the air, bring the belt over the crown of the head, and then if you can, take the arms behind you, but that might be too strong. And if you have shoulder discomfort or limitations there, then either just come up to the crown and exhale down in front of you, or go as wide as you can with the belt. That really makes it a lot easier. So you're skimming the crown of the head. At the end of the exhale, the long exhale, soften the shoulders, soften the arms. Breathing in, extend the arms and lift. And breathing out, release and relax. Lovely. We're going to do a couple more of those with our breath. So inhale, normal fullness of inhale, and then long exhale, dropping the shoulders into softness. Inhale, coming up. Exhale down. Inhale, coming up. And exhale down. And then with the arms behind you, and if you're working in front, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to turn my palms out and just stretch the belt behind. And now, instead of contracting those muscles at the back, you'll feel these muscles, your pecs are engaging as you stretch. And we'll inhale and soften. And inhale and soften. And inhale and soften. And then if you can, just holding a moderate amount of tension in the belt while you breathe in and breathe out. And on the next exhale, release, give yourself a little bit more belt to come up on an inhale, down to the front on an exhale, and again lift and shrug the shoulders. And then I was playing around with this just before the class. So rather than teaching you to do a particular thing with the belt, I thought it might be nice just to spend about a minute or so exploring the range of movement in your own shoulders using the belt. So I'm just going to give you an example of some of the ones you can do. So the belt behind, the elbows bending. You can also bring the belt over the shoulder and do that little bit of self-massage to release the top of the shoulders, not on the neck, just on that soft top of the shoulders. You might come a little bit shorter and go into a stronger stretch. So this time I got the back arm straight, the other arm bent, lifting that elbow high and really feeling that we're trying to create space through the armpit and through the side of the ribs here. And in that position, you might just have a nice lean away from the high elbow to stretch that side of the body even more. And if you do that one, you should really do it on the other side. Maybe in your own practice, if you are practicing between classes, just spend a little bit of time playing around with the belt. As long as you keep the principle of breath-led practice, real ease and softness in the movement and pain-free range of movement, then you can probably find a couple of really helpful shoulder releases that will work for you. So after the next side, and when you've evened yourself up, just release the belt down to the front once more, give the shoulders another lift and roll, and then we'll just get rid of the belt for a moment. And we'll do a slightly shorter version of a couple of the practices we tend to do most weeks. So breathing in to open the chest, but drawing those shoulders back and down. Long exhale, palms together. Just 2 more times. Release the hands down, give them a little shake. Roll the shoulders back, turn the palms out, and breathing in, float the arms up just as high as is comfortable for you. When you're ready to exhale, turning the palms, and long exhale down. Try to let the arms feel as light as possible. Keeping the shoulders down really helps with that. And again, just 3 repetitions. And then bring the palms together back in front of the heart. Breathing in, sit as tall as you can, stretch that crown of the head as high as you can, tuck the chin in, back of the neck is long. And breathing out, turning the head to the left, turning the shoulders to the right, long exhale. Breathing in, coming back to the very tall axis of the spine. And each exhale, taking yourself into the twist. We'll do 3 or 4 of these on each side, just looking to get a slightly freer sense of release and twist in the spine with each exhale that we do. Although there are a few disadvantages to doing a twist in an upright position, it does really help you appreciate the axis. And if you are doing a little bit of this in front of a mirror, say in your own practice, you can really see whether you're maintaining that axis from the center of the pelvic floor rather than leaning or tipping the head forward or back. So everything is straight and rotating around a single point. And then make the next time the shoulders turn around to the left, the last one. Inhale back to center, and just a couple more, breathing in, cactus arms, drawing the elbows back to open the chest, keeping the tummy in, so you're not pushing the belly out, not going into the lower back, but keeping that in and trying to go into the upper back. So that is the area of the spine that becomes rounded and stiff. So that is the area that we're going to focus on mobilizing pretty much in all our practice, whether we're doing forward bends, backward bends, twists. It's the thoracic part of the spine that we focus on. And then exhaling, hands on the thigh and folding forwards. And really importantly, at the end of that exhale, feel like you can let the head go. You tuck the chin in and the crown of the head points forward and down to the floor. So the weight of the head lengthens out the back of the neck. And as you breathe in, you come up with a nice flat back. Cactus arms. Exhale, hands down and stretch out the spine, tuck the chin in, release the head. Use as much arm support as you need. And if you don't really need much arm support to come back up, then use the back muscles instead. Give yourself a slightly stronger practice. If you're not sure what I mean by that, then when you exhale to this position, you just bring the hands up, bring the spine flat, and then come up, and everything will engage in the back. So one more of those, and the next time you come into your seated forward fold, just let yourself stay here for a couple of breaths. Try to have a sense of softening through the spine, and just think about all those vertebra in the spine, the 5 lumbar vertebra, the 12 thoracic, 7 cervical, each one of those being given just a little bit of help to spread out, to find the space between each vertebra and the one above and the one below. If you want to go any more deeper into this forward bend, you can let the arms hang on the outside of the knees. Tuck the chin in, let the crown of the head hang forwards. If you have any reason not to go into an inversion, any high blood pressure, glaucoma, or anything like that, then just keep the head, use the hands, keep the head level with the heart. And then on your next inhale, coming back up. And if you're staying in the chair, stay right there. And if you are coming down onto the mat, then lie down on the mat, draw the knees in over the chest, and begin to rock from side to side. So notice the points of bony contact with the floor, the back of the head, the back of the pelvis. Some people really feel certain parts of the spine, that mid-back part which curves outwards, that is pressing down into the mat, so they can really feel those bony points as well. Remember, you're supporting the head as much as you need to really to maintain that same axis that we were looking for in the twist. And if you are working seated, just doing some upper body circling in one direction and then in the other. And then coming back to center, we're going to go into some hip opening. So if you're lying on your back, you can do both hips at the same time. If you're in a chair, holding the shin, doing one at a time. Practice again, we do most weeks. So in terms of yoga for healthy bones, the biggest weight-bearing joint, single biggest weight-bearing joint we have is the hips. Think about all the forces coming up from the ground when we walk, run, jump. So it's a joint that takes a lot of hammering, has a lot of use. And yeah, it's a ball and socket joint, so it has this huge range of movement as well. So it plays these twin roles of being very, very tough and strong, it has that hardness, but then it also has this softness through its range of movement. And when the hips are fully open, that's when you get that iconic yoga pose, the lotus position, which really shouldn't be attempted unless you have absolutely fully open hips. And we won't be doing that one tonight. Okay, and then next time the knees come together, if you're lying on the mat, you're going to slide the left leg away from you. You can hold the shin or the back of the thigh. If you've got knee problems, back of the thigh is better. And exhaling, draw the right thigh in. And inhale, keep the shoulders relaxed, just let the arms straighten. If you want to make this one a little stronger, you can squeeze in and lift the chin to the knee. That's not really necessary, but if you like to work a little more strongly and can, then you can work a little bit on strengthening some abdominal muscles at the same time. So in the chair, it looks exactly the same. And then coming onto the other leg. And then when you've done a similar number with the left leg, just coming back to your starting position. So if you're on the mat, you're in the semi-supine position with the head supported, and we're going to slide the right leg straight again. This time we're going to bring the knee in and place the hand on the inside of the knee, fingers just wrapping around the shin there, and you're going to open the knee to the side as you breathe out. Breathing in, bring the knee back up. You can lift it, or you can let the leg help you as well. And as we get into this, as you exhale, you're going to roll the head the opposite way to the knee. I'm just not doing that so I don't turn too far away from the microphone. I'll do it once. Exhale. And when we've done that 3 or 4 times, we're going to exhale and just hold that position and allow a softening into that right hip. It looks very, very similar in the chair. Inhale and exhale until you get to a point where you can just hold that position. It's a little bit more tiring holding the weight of the leg when you're in the chair, so if you don't want to hold it for quite as long, that's fine. And then if you're still working with that right hip open, bring the leg back to center, place the foot on the mat, slide the leg straight, and then do the same practice on the other side. Remember, it's inhale, knee to center, exhale, opening that hip. And if you feel any clicks or bumps, which I always get in my left hip, that's absolutely fine. Just one of the vagaries of how the hip joint works. As long as there's no pain or discomfort, that's absolutely fine. And then bringing that left leg in. And then if you're in a chair, bring the feet So the feet are under the knees. And then we're going to take both knees out and begin to bring the soles of the feet together. So that should be fine if you're in a chair. It's a little more intense if you're lying on the mat, because potentially the knees could go all the way down to the floor. But as you do that, and it is unlikely to happen, but if your knees were on the floor in this position, that would be definitely defined as fully open hips. But if you just, for your own kind of interest and self-inquiry, slide the hands under the lower back and feel how much your lumbar curve has come into play. So it's really there, it's exaggerated. And that's because everything is connected, as we know, in the body. So when you want to do a really big hip opening, your lower back will go into a back bend in order to push the top of the pelvis forward and give a slightly different angle for the hip sockets to enable a little bit more hip opening. So if we were hanging out here for a bit longer, we could do some interesting things. We could just think about using the hands to roll both thighs outwards. We could do a little bit of breathing in and just squeezing the soles of the feet together, and then doing our long exhale and releasing a little bit more. I'm trying to find some softness here. Maybe once more, a little bit of a squeeze and exhale, release. However, I'm pretty sure that many of you will be, if you're lying on the floor, will be finding this quite intense by now. So maybe that's something to work on in your own practice. You can place the hands under the legs now, and then breathing in, bring the legs back up, bring the knees in, feel the lower back flatten against the floor, and then rock out any tension there with a little bit of side to side movement. Lovely. If you're on the mat, slide any cushion or blanket away from the head, place the palms on the abdomen, and as you exhale, feel the tummy muscles engaging and feel that engagement through your palms, your fingertips. And we're trying to press the lower back down into the mat all through our long exhale. And then as we breathe in, just let the abdomen soften. So in fact, if you want to check, the lumbar curve will just slightly begin to appear on the inhale, and then on exhale, tummy muscles engaged, everything goes flat. So we'll just keep working with that for a few more breaths. This one works really well at all levels. So if you are a very fit, sporting person with strong abdominals, you can really engage them as strongly as you would like to on that exhale. And if you're just sort of cultivating or rebuilding core strength, then you can do that in a subtle way as well, and it will still have a really beneficial effect. So same if you're in the chair, palms on the abdomen, inhale soft, exhale drawing the tummy in. And if you've got a chair with a nice back to it, where when you lean your back against it, it doesn't make you round your back, you can really feel yourself pressing the lower back into the back of the chair, a bit like the sensation if you're working from the mat. That's great. So to release from that practice, if you're lying on the mat, just bring the knees in, take a little rock, and just sitting with a nice soft abdomen for those working in a chair. So the next practice, I'll show the chair version first. We're just going to release the hands and take them towards the back of the chair. If there's something convenient to grab onto, then grab onto that. Roll the shoulders back and down and bring that upper back into its back bend. So feeling the spine just disappearing in between the shoulder blades, drawing the shoulders back. We're keeping the head neutral and we're not doing too much with the lower back. And you can hold this position, but if you want to work a little more strongly, you're going to hover the right foot for about 5 breaths, and then you'll hover the left foot for about 5 breaths. And for those working on the mat, what you're going to do is exhale, navel to spine, and you're going to inhale and just hover the pelvis off the mat. Now, if you want to use your fingertips and just palpate, as we would say. So check what's going on in your body. You'll feel that muscles are engaged all around the abdominal area on the lower back, supporting that area and strengthening it. And if you can, you can bring the feet a little bit closer together, and you can hover one foot here. Only recommending that for those who like a strong practice. So we've got quite a mixed ability group now in the class. So if you don't do something, that's just you being intelligent and sensitive to your own needs, and that makes you a better person. So don't do stuff that isn't right for you, but the option is there. That will be strong. You will need to keep the breath up in the upper chest because you're using all your tummy muscles. You haven't got a soft abdomen to breathe into. And don't forget to change legs. And if hovering your foot is too much, you could just keep one foot fully down and just lift the heel of the other foot as a kind of halfway house there. Very nice. And then everybody releasing from that position. If you're in a chair, just bringing yourself over the thighs. And if you're lying on the mat, bringing the knees in over the chest. And then we're gonna do one more back bend from this position. So you can either keep the arms here beside the body, or you can breathe in and take them overhead. That will take you a little bit higher up onto the shoulders, and you can lift the hips higher now. And if you can, you'll feel the front thigh muscles, your quads working really strongly here. Feel as if you're trying to slightly rotate the thigh muscles in towards each other. That will stop the knees splaying out. It will make the pose feel a little more zipped up and integrated. At the same time, roll the shoulders back and press the shoulder blades down into the mat. Breathing as you do that, and then exhale, roll down when you need to hug the knees in. And then you can go again up to 3 times. So if you're working in the chair, you can keep this hand position and inhale coming up, hold and release, or you can inhale cactus arms and long exhale, release. Very good. So make the one you're doing now the last one. When you're ready to roll down the spine, see if you can roll down the spine one vertebra at a time. Remember, we're looking for this sort of overall combination in the spine of fluidity, softness, flexibility, but also strength. And those 2 things can get a little contradictory at times, but we do need both. And then you can bring your head support back in, because we're going to come on to working with the belt on the hamstrings, and a similar practice to the one we've been doing most weeks, but with just a slight tweak for our theme on bones. So you can do this from the chair as well, obviously. So wrapping the hands around the belt at least once, and just keep this left leg bent, foot flat on the floor. That will keep your lower back nice and flat. And then as you breathe in, use the belt to draw the knee in towards the chest, not too far. And then as you breathe out, extending into the stretch. But additionally, what I'd like you to feel is that as you extend into the stretch, you maintain some tension in the belt and really feel as if you're drawing the bones of the leg into a close, compact position. So the lower leg is coming close to the upper leg, the femur, through the knee joint, and the head of the femur is embedding deeply into the hip joint, in this case, the right side of the hips. And then exhale, a little bit of softness into the joint, into the knee, into the leg. And exhale, stretch, but also grounding the back of the pelvis down to the earth. We're going to do 5 dynamic stretches and then hold the stretch. And as usual, your full stretch might be leg not quite straight, or leg completely straight, or even a straight leg beginning to move in towards the body. Just finding an appropriate amount of sensation of lengthening and engagement through the back of the thigh. But again, without any trauma there to the muscle. It shouldn't shake, it shouldn't try to resist the contraction so much that you put it in danger of tearing. So as I say, exactly the same as the practice on the mat in the chair. And then when you're ready to change legs, bring the left leg in, just let the left foot take over the belt, and then exactly the same. Inhaling, bending the knee, and exhaling, coming into the stretch and using the belt to draw the left leg now deep into the left side of the pelvis, deep into the left hip socket. So we've done some non-weight bearing opening for the hips when we're lying on our back. We'll be doing some weight bearing through the hips in a moment or two, and we come onto all fours. And with the belt, we are using the tension of the belt, as we did with the shoulders and the arms at the beginning of the class, to put a bit of tension, put a bit of resistance to enable the bones to feel that and respond to the forces on them in that incredible dynamic way that they do. And then when you've held the stretch on the left leg, or if you haven't yet done that, doing that now, keeping the breath steady. I may have said this before, but one of the compelling stories I was told about the skeleton was the way in which the early astronauts and cosmonauts were coming back to Earth with really quite pronounced osteoporosis due to being in a weightless environment. And NASA and the Russian space program had to develop a lot of resistance exercises to do in zero gravity in order to put the forces through the skeleton to maintain bone density. And because basically their bones were dissolving into their bloodstream while in space, had too much calcium in their bloodstream, and so they were subject to racing heart and heart palpitations, which is one of the symptoms of calcium overload in the blood. So body is highly intelligent, highly dynamic. If we don't use it, if we don't put the forces and the weight through the skeleton, we will lose the strength there. And when you get to a certain age, you really don't want to have any rapid loss, which can occur. So take a little counter pose, hugging the knees in, rocking from side to side if you're on the mat, or just folding over the thighs if you're in the chair. And then come into a comfortable position to do the cat. So that might mean staying in the chair. It might mean having the hands on the mat, definitely padding the knees, as we always do. And if you don't have any wrist or shoulder problems, then it is good to do the cat on the cat on the mat, as every child knows, and spreading the fingers and having the hands just slightly in front of the shoulders, and then just have a little play by shifting the body forwards and backwards and feeling the weight moving out of the knees and into the wrists as you come forwards, and vice versa. Of course, if you do have any wrist or shoulder issues, you can use the chair for support, and you'll still get some mild weight bearing. So the good news is that if you do have a shoulder issue and you can't weight bear through that joint, you don't lose bone density there but nowhere else. So it is a whole body system so you can compensate for different joints by just doing weight bearing elsewhere. So in the cat position, really finding that undulating feeling in the spine on inhale, and on exhale, arching up, tucking the chin in. And again, really not focusing too much on the neck and the lower back, not trying to do too much movement there. Bring your focus of your practice to that mid back, base of the neck, to the beginning of the lower back, and get as much movement there as you can. It's the critical area. Critical area of the spine, critical area for posture. And then round about after the next inhale or exhale, coming out of the cat. And if you're working from the floor, coming back into pose of the child there. And if you've been doing the cat in the chair, if you've been doing the breathing in and the breathing out, and just coming back to a nice neutral seated position. So we'll do one more weight bearing, which is going to be the downward dog. Quite a lot more weight bearing, and also a little bit of an inversion. So if you're not inverting, you'll be doing it from standing and using the back of the chair. And if you're able to work from the mat, you're back in your cat position. You're going to inhale, tuck the toes, exhale, head down, hips up. Inhale, lift the hips as high as you can, stretch out the spine, engage the tummy muscles, make as much space as you can between each vertebra, and then long exhale, bring the knees back down. You can take a breath or two there between rounds. If you're working with the back of the chair, doing a similar thing, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, lengthening, and breathing out, releasing. And if you're working from the chair, breathing in, spreading the palms, spreading the toes, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So just one more dog if you're still practicing. And then if you've been working from the mat, again, come back into pose of the child, working from the chair, just sitting quietly. And if you're standing and holding the back of the chair, just come up to standing, which is where we are coming to next. So for those who were counterposing in pose of the child, make your way back up to standing now. And then with the palms together in front of the heart, release the hands, roll the shoulders back, and inhale, sweeping the arms overhead, and exhale, draw the palms down through the midline of the body. So we've done some weight bearing there through the wrists, the arms, the shoulders. And we just want to make sure that we haven't lost the softness. So this is to bring the softness back into those areas. And this is something we have to do with the shoulders in a way that we don't have to do with the hips, because the hips are a much more close, compact joint, and the shoulder joint is a very open joint, much more mobile. So when we use it for weight bearing, there's a whole lot of additional muscular tension needed just to stabilize things there, and that can lead to chronic tension. So whether you're doing this from the chair or from standing, just begin to engage the feet now, lifting the toes as the arms come up. Long exhale, relax them down, and lifting the heels as the arms go up and releasing them on the exhale. Once more for the toes. Once more for the heels. And then just release the arms whether you're standing or sitting. So by lifting the toes, lifting the heels, we're doing some good weight bearing through the 26 bones and joints, 26 bones, many more joints of the feet. And we're also just shifting the way the weight bearing is going. So it's now coming back up through the legs, and we're back into that, tucking the chin in, lengthening the back of the neck, lifting the crown of the head, feeling that everything is stacked, head is balanced, placing the hands on the waist. And then I'm going to get you to just step the feet apart. If you're working this from the chair, I'm just going to do exactly the same. Hands on the hips, taking the feet apart. From standing, we'll be working with the legs straight, and you're just going to ease out those feet until you feel a stretch coming right up the inside of the legs, particularly from the inside of the knee up into the groins. Fingertips are here, just making sure that you're not letting everything relax too much there, which will take you into your lower back. So keeping this area in, sending the tailbone a little bit down at the back to maintain just a gentle set of normal spinal curves. And then we're going to let the knees bend, and we're going to take the hips back and come into a little bit of a hip opening squat, but this is also a leg strengthener. So depending on where you are with your body, you might get a quite rapid thigh burn here, in which case you just breathe in and come up. And when you're ready to go down again, exhale. And if you're feeling a little more hardcore, or you're not feeling that in the thighs yet, you can just hang out here a little bit longer until you really begin to feel the work of these muscles. Make sure that as you bend the knees, that the knee, center of the knees tracking the second toe. Don't want your knees and feet going in different directions. So nice even forces through the knee joint. And then breathing and coming up. And just notice that when you come up and straighten the legs, instant release, instant relief. And that just shows us one of the other great things that the strong bones of the body do. They save us energy all the time. The knee cleverly locks into place, and you can stand up with the weight just being supported by the bones with very little muscle action. But when you bend those knees, you've got that gravity pulling you down, trying to take you into a deeper squat, and you're relying on your muscles to hold position, which is great if you want to strengthen your leg muscles. But if we had to do it all the time, we would definitely have a lot of tired legs around. Brilliant, lovely. Inhale, come out. Just walk the feet in, give the legs a little shake. So I'm going to show you where we'll take that. We're going to take that position into two postures. I'm going to show you from the chair and then from standing. So from the chair, coming into that supported squat, and you can come just a little bit further until you are almost getting the spine parallel to the floor. And then you could see, can your hand reach the floor? And if it can't reach the floor, you might put a yoga block on its side or flat on the floor, or a couple of yoga bricks, which would be even better, so that you now you're in a forward fold, the spine is long, and everything is feeling good and supported. And then from here, place the back of the hand on the lower back, and we're just beginning to open up into a twist. So let this left shoulder rise, tuck the right shoulder under. So from standing, I'll give you a side view of that one. From standing, we'll come back into our squat. We've got the hand supporting the thighs. The hand will come down onto the mat there, or onto a yoga block, and then back of the hand and opening up, and just rotate the head, keeping it in a nice neutral plane. And take a few breaths here. As soon as you feel you need to release, turn the head, look down, bring the hands back onto the thighs, coming up. It's quite strong on the legs, as you're feeling, I'm sure. So we will just give the legs a little shake. If you're working from the chair, come up. Again, just take a little pause between sides, maybe rock from side to side. And then coming back up, bend the knees, send the hips back. This time taking the left hand down, back of the right hand on the lower back, and drawing yourself into a little bit of twist. So it's a squat, it's a forward bend, and it's a twist. It's probably more going on than we've ever had in a Zoom posture. If you need the support of a wall or the chair for any of this, feel free to do that. And if you're working in the chair and the floor is just a little bit too far away, then resting a forearm on the thigh, tucking the other palm and opening up like that is also a really, really nice way to do this one. So one more round, or if you've just started, finishing with the right hand down, coming into the left hand twist. So you've done an equal number on both sides. And then when you have released, if you're in the chair, bringing the knees back to hip width apart and taking a nice soft forward fold to stretch out the spine. And if you've been working from standing, bring the feet together, hands on the thigh, and just have a little easy forward fold to release from that practice. So almost our last posture tonight is working into the tree balance that we're focusing on in this run of classes. And obviously, as soon as you lift one leg off the floor, you are placing the whole of your body weight just through one leg. So you get that additional bone loading through the hip and the joint and the knee joint, the ankle joint, and the bones of the leg while we're doing the pose. So we're going to ease into that with a little bit of dynamic heron. So if you don't need a chair, you're just going to be inhaling and exhaling. So inhaling, taking the arms away from the body, lifting one leg and then changing legs, and feeling that weight shift as the hips move from side to side to shift the center of gravity over one leg and then the other. So it's important to feel really steady in the balances so you can really work on the balance where you are tonight. So if you need to be near a wall or grab a chair, then do that. It's much better than losing your balance. And if lifting the leg is too much, just lift the heel and keep the tips of the toes on the mat. So if heron is going to be enough for you tonight, stick with that. Otherwise, we're going to come into the tree by bending the right knee and just opening the hip. And you can either keep the toes on the mat, which is a little bit easier, or you can place the toes on top of the left foot. If you're not using your chair, bring the palms together. If you want to try the arm position where the arms are a little bit more like branches, but they also act as balancing aids. And if you're feeling really steady, palms together over the head, you may wobble like I did then. And then release down. Much more difficult to hold a balance than doing a balance with each breath. So if you're not having a great night for balancing, I recommend just dropping down to that and just going from one leg to the other. However, we'll have a go on the other side for those who are having a go at the static tree. And release. Give the shoulders a little lift and roll. Give the arms and legs a shake. We're just going to do one more balance. I'm just going to let you pick. So we'll do one on the right side, one on the left. You can be static or dynamic. So you choose. If you really want to come into the fuller version of tree, feel free to do that. Or stick with the more simple forms that we've done so far. And when you've released from your second side, take a moment back in Tadasana or sitting, and then make your way down to our supported inversion. Yoga block under the hips, blanket or cushion under the head. If you are staying in the chair, if you can, use another chair and have an inversion by raising the legs. Take a few more breaths in the inversion. You can have the eyes closed or a soft gaze up to the ceiling if you're lying on your back, or down to the floor if you are working from a chair. And then in the next breath or two, think about releasing yourself from this posture and coming into a comfortable position for you for your relaxation, either lying on your back or with the knees bent or on your side. You could stay in the chair with the legs raised if you have a chair with good sides to it. Otherwise, coming down to the floor or being in the chair, but using the relaxation as a concentration practice so that you don't nod off in your chair. And this time, if you can, closing the eyes just to take your awareness within, or again, a soft gaze. And take a moment to really experience these different textures of the body, the hardness of the bones felt through their points of contact, the back of the head, the shoulders and upper back, the back of the pelvis, the back of the legs, the heels, and at the same time, everything surrounding those strong bones now being invited to soften, knowing that that hard structure is there to maintain our form, our physical form. But we don't need to hold on to unnecessary tension. We don't need the soft tissues of the body to be bound by tension. So instead, we're going to think of our skeleton as scaffolding from which to relax the softer parts of the body. So each time you exhale, feel the heaviness of your bones sinking down towards the earth, pressing down on the soft tissues of the muscles of the back of the body, around the shoulders, around the hips. Imagining that that weight of the bones just resting on those muscles is helping them to soften, almost like they're being massaged into a state of release by the pelvis, by the shoulder blades. And at the same time, all the muscles and tissues and soft tissues of the front of the body can just drape themselves over the bones, a bit like as if you were hanging out your wet washing on a clothes rail, on a clothes horse. That great big quad muscle of the front thigh is just resting over the femur, over the thigh bone. The 4 layers of the abdominal muscles resting down onto the lower back. The muscles of the upper chest resting on the front of the ribs, the collarbones and the shoulders. The muscles of the arms, triceps, biceps and others, just resting or hanging, draping themselves over the bones of the arms, relaxing and softening. And the skin, the cheeks, the lips, the forehead, supported and resting on the bony support of the skull. Frown lines melting away, feeling a sense of softness around the eyebrows, around the eyes themselves, the tongue relaxing softly in the mouth. Everything moving into softness from this security and support of our bones, of our skeletal system. And everything working together exactly as it should. And now allow your breath to deepen. Wriggle the fingers, move the toes. Stretch into your arms and your legs in any way that feels good. And when you're ready, bend your knees in. If the legs are straight, roll onto your side. And make your way back up to sitting. And that could be in the chair, cross-legged on the mat, whatever you prefer. Once you're sitting up, just come back to eyes closed for a final few breaths or soft gaze forward and down. Easy inhale through the nose. Slightly lengthened exhale. Finding this reduced and subtle breathing. Allowing our body to soften, but at the same time, that softness supported by this beautiful long axis of the spine as the crown of your head effortlessly reaches up towards the ceiling. And then after the next exhale, just let your breath return to its natural rhythm. When you're ready, blinking, open the eyes. Thank you very much.